Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. We are diving into Rich Dad, Poor Dad today.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
A classic for sure. We are going to be talking about how the wealthy think differently about money. And I'm really excited to be joined by our financial expert today.
I'm excited to be here. Big fan of this book. Always happy to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that makes this book so fascinating is the way the author kind of sets it up. You know,
Yeah.
he talks about these two dads, two perspectives on money.
Right. His own father and then his best friend's dad.
Exactly. One's highly educated, but kind of struggling financially.
And then the other one is this like super successful entrepreneur.
And it really gives you these two different lenses to look at the world of money through.
Absolutely. It's like right out the gate, he hits you with these two contrasting ideas, right? Like one dad is saying the love of money is the root of all evil. And then the
Right.
other one is like, no, the lack of money is the root of all evil.
Okay, yeah, that's
Which one is it?
right. Which one is it? Makes you think. So, like, where do we even begin to unpack that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it all comes down to where we get our financial education from.
Okay.
Because a lot of us, we learn about money from our parents, but what if our parents never really learned how to manage money effectively themselves?
It's true, right? And you think about it, like, schools teach us about math and history and science,
Mhm.
but how many of us actually had a class on personal finance?
Not many, if any at all.
Not many, yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so we're kind of left to figure it out on our own, which is where a book like Rich Dad, Poor Dad can be so helpful because it offers this alternative perspective.
It does, it really does. It challenges a lot of the conventional wisdom around money.
Exactly. And one of the biggest things it challenges is this idea that, we should all strive to get a good job and work hard for money.
Right, but Rich Dad says the rich don't work for money.
They don't work for money.
Nope. And to kind of drive that point home, the author, he tells this story about how he worked for his rich dad, his best friend's dad, right? For like 10 cents an hour. Can you imagine that?
10 cents an hour, it'd be like, see ya.
Right. I mean, who works for 10 cents an hour these days? But the whole point of that experience was to kind of like shake him up, make him feel that desperation that a lot of people feel when they're stuck in the rat race.
Okay, there's that term again, the rat race. What does that even mean?
Yeah, the rat race. It's like this cycle of working for a paycheck, paying bills, and then working for another paycheck.
Yeah.
Just to like keep your head above water.
And then do it all over again.
Then doing it all over again, exactly. And the author argues that this whole cycle is driven by two powerful emotions, fear and desire.
Fear and desire.
Yeah, fear of not having enough money, right? That fear drives us to work hard.
To get that paycheck.
Yep. But then we get that paycheck and we have this desire for things, for a better lifestyle.
So we end up spending it.
Exactly. We end up spending it and then we're right back where we started, needing another paycheck.
So it's like this never-ending cycle.
It is. It's like running on a hamster wheel.
You're putting in the effort, but not really getting anywhere.
Exactly. You're not really getting ahead. You're just kind of stuck.
Okay, so then how do we break free from this rat race? I mean, the book says we need to shift our focus, but how?
Well, it all starts with understanding the difference between working for money and having money work for you.
Okay, that sounds good in theory, but how do you actually make that happen?
That's where financial literacy comes in.
Financial literacy. All right, let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
What does it actually mean to be financially literate?
Well, it's more than just knowing how to balance your checkbook or stick to a budget, right?
Right.
It's about understanding how money works,
Okay,
how to make it grow, how to make it work for you instead of you working for it.
so it's like being in control of your money rather than letting it control you.
Exactly. And Rich Dad breaks this whole concept down with this really simple but powerful idea.
Okay, I'm listening.
Assets versus liability.
Assets versus liabilities. All right, that's familiar.
Yeah, assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out.
Okay, so like an asset would be something that generates income.
Exactly. Like a rental property, if it's bringing in more money than it costs to maintain, that's an asset.
All right, that makes sense. So what would be an example of a liability then?
Well, here's where things get interesting. Rich Dad argues that for most people, their house is actually a liability.
Wait, what? My house is a liability?
That's right. It's not an asset.
But I thought a house was like the American dream,
Yeah, that's what we're told, right? But think about it. You've got your mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, maintenance costs. All of those things are taking money out of your pocket every month.
Okay, yeah. I never really thought about it like that.
And that's why Rich Dad is so good. It makes you question everything you thought you knew about money.
Okay, so how does this whole asset versus liability thing tie back into the rat race?
Well, people who are stuck in the rat race often focus on increasing their income, right? They work hard to get raises and promotions,
Yeah.
but they don't necessarily focus on building their asset column.
So they might be making more money, but it's all going towards expenses and liabilities.
Exactly. They get a raise, they buy a bigger house, a nicer car, more stuff.
Their expenses just keep going up.
Exactly. And they're still dependent on that paycheck.
So it's not just about making more money. It's about using that money to acquire assets that will generate income on their own.
You got it. And that leads us to another really important concept from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, minding your own business.
Okay, so are we all supposed to be starting our own companies now?
Not necessarily. Minding your own business is more about shifting your mindset from being an employee to being an investor, an entrepreneur.
Okay, so even if I have a regular job,
You can still mind your own business.
by building my asset column.
Exactly. By investing in things like rental properties or stocks, or maybe even starting a little side hustle.
Okay, that's actually pretty empowering when you think about it.
It is. And there's this great story in the book about Ray Kroc, the guy who founded McDonald's.
The burger guy.
Yeah, the burger guy. But a lot of people don't realize that his real genius was in real estate.
Really?
Yeah. He understood that the land those McDonald's were built on was incredibly valuable.
So he wasn't just building a fast food empire, he was building a real estate empire.
Exactly. And that's a perfect example of minding your own business. It's about seeing the bigger picture, understanding the underlying value of things, and finding ways to acquire assets that generate income.
I never knew that about McDonald's.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have to start with a ton of money to build your asset column. You just got to be creative and look for opportunities.
That's the key. Start small, think outside the box, and gradually grow your assets over time.
Okay, so we've got shifting our mindset, we've got understanding assets versus liabilities, we've got minding our own business. This is a lot to take in.
It is. Rich Dad, Poor Dad packs a lot of wisdom into a pretty short book.
And you know what else it talks about? Corporations,
Oh, yes. Corporations.
which sounds kind of intimidating to me, I'll be honest.
I know, right? It sounds like something only super rich people deal with.
Yeah, like what do corporations have to do with my personal finances?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about next, because corporations can be a really powerful tool for building wealth and protecting your assets.
Okay, I am intrigued. I'm ready to learn more about this.
All right, let's get into it. So yeah, corporations, I know it can seem a little daunting at first,
Yeah, it does.
but they really are an important piece of this whole rich dad philosophy.
Okay, so before we dive into the specifics, can you just give us a basic understanding of why corporations are so powerful, especially when it comes to taxes?
Sure. So one of the biggest things is that corporations, they're taxed differently than individuals are.
Okay, how so?
Well, for one thing, corporations are able to deduct a lot of expenses before they pay taxes.
So expenses like what?
Well, think about things like salaries, rent, marketing costs, travel, all the costs associated with running a business.
So it's like the government is basically giving you a break on the money you spend to operate your business.
Exactly. And this can make a huge difference in your bottom line.
Okay, so as a corporation, you're only paying taxes on your profit, not your total revenue.
That's right. And that's a huge advantage,
Yeah, I can see how that would be really appealing to business owners.
right? And that's why Rich Dad stresses the importance of understanding these legal structures.
Okay, so corporations, they can be really beneficial from a tax perspective. But I know Rich Dad Poor Dad also talks about them offering legal protection too.
That's right. Corporations can act as a shield between your personal assets and any liabilities that your business might incur.
So if something goes wrong with my business, my personal savings, my house, all of that is protected.
That's the idea. Of course, it's always best to consult with a lawyer to make sure your corporation is set up properly.
Right, of course.
But yeah, the point is that incorporating can offer a level of protection that you don't have if you're operating as a sole proprietor or a partnership.
Okay, that makes sense. And, it's funny because we're talking about all of this, corporations, taxes, legal structures.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing, this is stuff that they don't really teach you in school.
No, they don't.
It's like we're supposed to just figure all of this out on our own.
Right. And that's why Rich Dad was such a game changer for so many people.
It fills in those gaps.
Yeah.
It gives you the knowledge that you need to really succeed financially.
Exactly. And it challenges you to think differently about money, to see the world from the perspective of the wealthy.
Okay, so speaking of the wealthy, one of the things that Rich Dad Poor Dad really drives home is this idea that the rich, they don't just work for money, They make money work for them.
Right. And that's where assets come in. Remember, assets put money in your pocket.
Assets, liabilities, got it.
Exactly. And Rich Dad encourages you to think about building your asset column, not just increasing your income.
So it's not about how much you earn. It's about what you do with what you earn.
You got it. It's about investing in things that will generate passive income so that money is working for you even while you sleep.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Passive income. Who doesn't love that idea?
Right. And that's the key to financial freedom. It's about building up those assets so that you're not always trading your time for money.
So let's say I'm ready to start building my asset column. Where do I even begin? What kind of assets should I be looking for?
Well, there are a lot of different options. It really depends on your individual circumstances and risk tolerance.
Okay, fair enough. But are there any, general principles or guidelines that people should keep in mind?
Absolutely. Rich Dad talks a lot about the importance of understanding different asset classes like real estate, stocks, bonds, precious metals, things like that.
Okay, yeah, those sound familiar.
And he encourages you to educate yourself about each of those asset classes so that you can make informed investment decisions.
So it's not just about putting all your money in one basket.
Right, diversification is key. It's about spreading your risk across different types of assets.
And it's also about understanding your own financial goals, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to achieve? Are you saving for retirement? Are you trying to build wealth for your family?
Exactly. And that's where having a financial plan can be really helpful. You need to know where you're going before you can figure out how to get there.
So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it's not just a book about money. It's a book about mindset.
It is. It's about taking control of your financial future. And that starts with changing the way you think about money.
And that's why this book is so powerful, because it challenges those conventional beliefs and opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
Absolutely. And the best part is that anyone can apply these principles no matter where they are in their financial journey.
Exactly. It's never too early or too late to start building your own path to financial freedom.
It really is about empowering yourself, giving yourself the tools and the knowledge to make smart financial decisions.
It is, and I think that's one of the things that makes this book so unique. It doesn't just tell you what to do, it explains why.
Exactly. It's not just about giving you a bunch of tips and tricks. It's about helping you develop a whole new way of thinking about money.
Right. It's not just about learning the rules of the game, it's about understanding why those rules exist in the first place.
And that's so important because once you understand the why, the how becomes a lot easier.
It does, it does. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the mindset shifts, but what about some practical strategies? Like, what are some specific things that people can start doing today to kind of implement these rich dad principles into their own lives?
Well, I think the first step is to really assess your current financial situation. Where are you at right now? What are your income streams? What are your expenses? What are your assets and liabilities?
So it's like taking inventory of your finances.
Exactly. You need to know where you're starting from before you can figure out where you want to go.
Okay, that makes sense. So once you have a clear picture of your current financial situation, what's next?
Well, then it's time to start setting some goals. What do you want to achieve financially? Are you saving for retirement? Are you trying to pay off debt? Are you looking to build passive income?
So having a clear vision of what you want to accomplish.
Exactly. Because that vision, it's going to guide your actions and your decisions.
It's like having that financial roadmap that we were talking about earlier.
Right. And once you have those goals in place, you can start developing a plan to achieve them.
So things like budgeting, saving, investing.
Yes. And remember, Rich Dad emphasizes the importance of acquiring assets, things that put money in your pocket.
Rental properties, stocks, businesses, things like that.
Exactly. And those assets, they're going to help you generate passive income so that money is working for you even while you're not actively working.
Okay, so we're starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about earning a paycheck. It's about building a system that generates wealth over time.
That's the key. It's about creating a financial engine that can run on autopilot, so to speak.
And that takes time, right? It's not something that happens overnight.
No, it definitely takes time and effort, but it's so worth it. Because once you have that system in place, you have the freedom to do what you want when you want.
That's the ultimate goal, isn't it? Financial freedom.
It is. It's about having the time and the resources to pursue your passions, to spend time with your loved ones, to live life on your own terms.
And Rich Dad, Poor Dad gives you the tools and the knowledge to make that happen.
It does. It opens your eyes to a whole new world of possibilities.
And one of the things that I really appreciate about this book is that it doesn't shy away from talking about the emotional side of money.
Oh, yeah. That's so important.
It's not just about numbers and spreadsheets. It's about understanding how our emotions can influence our financial decisions.
Absolutely. And Rich Dad really emphasizes the importance of mastering those emotions, especially fear and greed.
Right. Because those emotions can lead us to make impulsive choices, choices that we might regret later on.
Exactly. Fear can keep us from taking risks, from pursuing opportunities.
And greed can lead us to make investments that are too risky or to spend more than we can afford.
Right, so it's about finding that balance, being aware of those emotions, but not letting them control you.
So it's like we're back to that whole idea of mindset, right? It's
Like,
not just about what you know, it's about how you think.
exactly. And that's why financial literacy is so important. It's about empowering yourself with the knowledge and the skills to make sound financial decisions.
And Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a great place to start.
It is. It's a classic for a reason.
Hmm.
It's timeless wisdom that's helped millions of people around the world achieve financial success.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. Rich Dad Poor Dad is packed with so much valuable information.
It is. And even though we've come to the end of our deep dive, I feel like this conversation is just beginning.
It is. This is just the tip of the iceberg, really.
Exactly. And I hope that our listeners are feeling inspired to continue exploring these concepts, to keep learning and growing their financial intelligence.
Yes, because financial literacy is a journey, not a destination.
It is. And the more you learn, the more empowered you become to create the life you want.
Absolutely. And that's what Rich Dad Poor Dad is all about. It's about giving you the tools to take control of your financial future.
So to all of our listeners out there, we encourage you to pick up a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and start your own deep dive into the world of wealth building.
It's a game changer.
It is. And remember, financial freedom is within your reach. All you have to do is take that first step.
That's right. Start today and never stop learning.
Wise words. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Hold on.